Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
What up, though?
What's up,
YouTube?
man? What's up, chat?
What up, YouTube? What it do?
Hey, listen, I'm sorry we just bombarded you. We was throwing gang signals up. But Big Nuggets, let's get into this question. We quite didn't understand where you was going with it. Draft is coming up. So set this one up in terms of our criteria and what we're talking about with these talent traits versus tape.
Yeah, so when you're looking at NFL draft prospects, we have a profile and all this data on everybody, right? You look at guys who produce crazy in college. We have those numbers. We have guys who may not produce crazy in college and then go to the combine and out-test everybody and have crazy vertical jumps, crazy 40-yard dashes, and next thing you know, they become a draft darling. And we could look at all the combine freaks and exceptions over the years. Guys like Anthony Richardson, some have panned out, some haven't. Calvin Johnson's a guy who tested incredibly well at the combine, went on to have one of the best careers in all of football. So without using specific players, I'm more just asking from a philosophical standpoint. And Zach, you did a little scouting in the NFL level, so I was waiting for you to be on the panel for this. How do you weigh production on the college level versus those physical traits when you're trying to make an evaluation of what a college prospect can become on the NFL level?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have outstanding physical traits, it's going to be really tough to succeed in the NFL. But when you're talking about college guys and how they might fit, production is paramount. There are some reasons that guys don't do it, but if they didn't produce on that level, if they didn't have dominant seasons and dominant stretches, how are you going to project them to be dominant against the very best players in the world? So it is different by position, and there are circumstances. Nico Collins is a name that comes to mind, right? We'd agree, one of the 8-10 best receivers in the league, big and fast guy. He played at Michigan. They didn't throw the ball. They didn't throw it well when they did, right? So each guy's circumstance is different. But, let's go back to Nick Chubb. He shared the backfield at Georgia, right? He had the injury history. But when you turned on the tape, what did Nick Chubb do? Bringing through people, tossed them off of them, right? Like that was a guy that was going to do it. And it came down to the Seahawks picked a running back out of San Diego State, and Nick Chubb dropped to the Browns. It was history. So you need to have done it at the highest level. The guys that go in the first round absolutely won the genetic lottery.
Right.
In almost all cases. And absolutely are in the top percentage of the traits. But especially now in the more data-driven NFL, it's become easier and teams have become smarter to pick out not just one-year wonders, not just workout wonders, guys that have done it at the very highest level.
Yeah. So I really didn't understand the question either, so shout out to you for kind of setting that up. For me, when I look at wide receivers, for example, right, ever since I've seen Josh Gordon play at his highest level, it was always like, well, damn, I want my wide receivers to be built just like that. And that's a position that I think about to where as long as you give me a guy that has those traits, even if the college production isn't as high, I believe that it's something else that went into that. Mike brought up Calvin Johnson, and that was a guy that I thought about to where when he was in college, he was not really a household name. He wasn't a guy that many people knew a lot about him. But when he got to the NFL, baller, right? One of the best wide receivers I ever seen play. And that's an example that I think about to where, maybe he had a quarterback who couldn't get him the ball. And then these other examples of guys that win the top 10, like Darius Hayward-Bay, who, could fly, can run like a deer. And everybody knew Al Davis. If you ran a 4.2 40, you was about to be an Oakland Raider. That's
so
just how it went down.
So he went number 7 overall, right?
So he went number 7 overall, and it never panned out, even though he had the traits and those intangibles. So when you talk about advanced data and being able to, be able to see, okay, this guy's a one-year wonder, or this guy just got the opportunity to start because it was better guys in front of him, and now you see the production and you can say, okay, this projects to the next level. They have done a much better job, in my opinion, in being able to do that. But I would trust somebody that's built like a Josh Gordon, for example. I would be more intrigued with somebody that has those type of traits.
Your traits will give you a shot. So what I mean by that is if you got elite traits, you may not necessarily have the best tape. You may not necessarily play in a system that highlights those traits so that you can be put in a position to have a bunch of production. But that's what pro days and combines is for, because you can take a chance on a guy with elite traits and then lean on your staff to say, can we coach him up to do some certain things? Maybe he was put in a different position at that specific college. Get case in point, Mason Graham is playing a completely different style of defense right now than he played at Michigan. And so your goal is to say, okay, well, we want him to do something different. How can we project that? Does he have the baseline aptitude to be able to switch over and do those things? So for me, the first and foremost is it's always the tape. Like, first and foremost, like, that is what the Bible is. It's what you base everything off of. And then when you go watch them run and work out, that is either going to confirm certain things, or you have to go back and look at it to say, if you ran a 4.3, right, and I thought you was a 4.5 guy, now I want to go back and look at it a little bit and be like, I didn't think he was that going to run it. Or on the opposite end is if you run a 4.5, but you out here moving around like Cardinal Tate and you always behind the defense, I got to figure out, is that because they're scheming you open well? Do you have a great quarterback throwing it to you? Is that you? And can I get that same level of production if the traits don't add up to the tape?
When Harold Fannin was at Bowling Green, he was setting records, not just tight end records, but like national reception records. And so the counterpoint was, well, he's playing at Bowling Green. Well, the counterpoint to that is everybody in every stadium knew that he was coming. And yes, the safeties and linebackers on the mat couldn't cover him, but 3 of them were trying, and he was still catching 12 balls a game, right? So as long as you went and checked out, he's a good enough athlete. Probably better athlete than people thought. He runs a little goofy. He's a natural football player, right? You see his background in other positions show up. Like, the production is what gets you noticed. So it is different for different players. There are guys who haven't produced. But so many times you'll see guys that are like a surprise on the outside slip to the 4th or 5th round. Well, the scouts have watched the tape and they wonder why there isn't more production. So if there's not just a great valid excuse that this team just was not throwing him the ball,
right,
or he just was behind a certain guy, like, they want to see more on those guys slip.
It's funny because on one side of the coin, I think about a guy like Josh Allen, where if you mirror that to what this question is, he had the physical tools. But if you read a lot of the write-ups about him coming out, a lot of people said he didn't have one elite trait about him. And he also didn't play against the best competition. Well, with some coaching and some time given, Josh Allen had turned out to be all right. And I think about, a guy that's coming up now, Cardinal Tate, right? And he was in the Off the Clock space, and shout out to the Off the Clock boys. And he talked about, somebody asked him, what type of coverage really gave him issues. And he said that at Ohio State, a lot of people didn't play press man against those Buckeye wide receivers, right? And so because he has elite traits, he's a route running technician, even when he sees more of that in the NFL, scouts and people who make these decisions are going to be comfortable with him, taking him wherever they take him because of that elite trait, despite never seeing that much type of coverage, and despite not having this 4.2, 4.3, 40 that everybody think is a big deal, when in reality, it's about how you get in and out of your breaks that matter more than your 40 times.
Garrett touched on this, but I think every year with like the top 50, 75 players, I think they look and they get that published 40 time, and they know. It's almost always in the neighborhood because they know, because they've scouted them. The guys have played multiple years against the best competition. So when they have to go back and look is if there's a circumstance. Was there an injury, or is it way off of what they thought, right? Like, a guy doesn't go to the combine and run 4.29 and they thought he was going to run 4.7.
Yeah, it's just...
and it's kind of the same way as, like, nobody really cares if Cardinal Tate is 4.41 or 4.54. If it's one way or the other, but they're like, okay, he's not the fastest, but guess what? He goes and gets the ball. He extends to get that. He knows how to get over.
Guys, I will say that, but here's the position where all bets are off. You could do that for corners, like receivers, and if a defensive lineman got a tool or tricks and his get off is crazy, you're like, oh, all right, we could take him. But when it comes to that quarterback position, all bets are off. It's like your best idea of what he can be could be wildly this side or wildly this side. You brought up a great point. Go back and listen and watch that class that when the Browns took Baker. You had Baker, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen,
and Josh Rosen
and Lamar Jackson. all of those guys were not separated by a lot. And all of those quarterbacks had different traits. Like Josh Allen had the crazy arm, but it was the competition people thought about and the lack of experience. Baker had the moxie. His was the intangible. He was, the presence. And then Lamar Jackson was Lamar Jackson. He was the next Vic. He was Vic reincarnated. And then Josh Rosen was the dude who had played since he was a freshman with all kind of great stats in the longevity. And so you saw all of those quarterbacks, and everybody had a different thought process. But look at the way it turned out. Mm-hmm. There's no book on a quarterback, and that's why that's the one that is the most difficult to get.
Josh Allen's an outlier for a couple reasons. One, he just has those crazy gifts. But two, the Bills raised him right.
Yeah.
Like the throws that Baker made in his sleep in college that made him the number one pick, they were teaching Josh Allen to make that throw for multiple years.
Right.
Just take the drop, hit the guy right now, take what's there. Like he just wasn't accurate, right? He was relying on his gifts too much against that competition. It was impossible to say, can do this. And I think ultimately the Browns judged that he wasn't ever going to be accurate enough. The Browns probably weren't going to raise him right. The Bills did. They reaped the rewards. They got a Hall of Fame quarterback, right? They haven't got to the Super Bowl yet, but every year they're knocking on the door. So, yeah, that's like Drew Aller this year, the local kid from Medina. His career didn't go that way. He's got great gifts. Does he have Josh Allen gifts? No. Are they in the zip code? Yes. Some team's going to draft Drew Aller in the 4th round, despite his having a nightmare year, despite him never winning a big game, and they're going to give him every chance. And maybe after 6 months or maybe after 3 years, they'll determine it wasn't work, but the upside of it working is that you have a quarterback, right? Like that was what's maddening about the Dylan Gabriel pick. He was a finished product.
Yeah,
he was 6 years, right? He was 5'10",
if that,
right? And so really when you go back and listen to what Barry and Stefanski said, what did they say? This was a great college quarterback. And it was, unquestionably, he was a great college quarterback. He produced 3 different stops. But he gets in the NFL, he just doesn't have the gifts. So you have to continuously develop, and you have to have those physical traits if you're ever going to take that next step up. So they drafted a career backup with a top 100 pick.
It's just, and then you look at it, and another thing that you take a look at is age, transfers. I mean, he went from UCF, then he went to Oklahoma, then he went to Oregon. And when you get somebody who's playing, and that goes to show you, it also has a lot to do with who you're playing with. In college, more than ever, I watch, and I'm not saying Mendoza's not going to be bad, right? Mendoza had crazy offensive line. The system was exactly to what his strengths were. 2 good running backs, 2 really good receivers. Like sometimes you can look a certain way and then get to the league and be like, oh.
Sure, but also those guys allowed him to take that next step in his own game.
Yes.
Because he wasn't at Cal anymore.
I was about to bring that up.
Right? Now he's playing for a better coach. Now he's playing with 2 drafted receivers. So he's allowed to get to that next step.
And he could develop. And it all depends on who you got around. And then coaching matters as well. Like, there's a lot of coaches who you bring a guy in and they tell you to run what you're going to run. Right?
That's right.
But some coaches bring you in and say, hey, what can this guy do well? Let's do a good job of coaching him up and getting him and masking those deficiencies, so to speak.
It's funny when you talk about like even if you bring offensive linemen into this conversation. What was that dude name? What was it? Robert Gallery?
Robert Gallery.
Remember him?
Yeah.
And Robert Gallery had all the physical tools. He just looked the part of a guy who was going to be a dominant tackle in the NFL for a long time, but something was off about him. Something was missing. And when it comes to offensive linemen, I think that, you want to see them have those physical tools and traits. But I've learned and just talked to some of my friends that played in the league that you want your offensive line group to be some of the most intelligent people on your football team, because those are the guys that more often than not is making the initial checks at the line of scrimmage. Those are the guys that is studying the technique of the guys that's in the trenches with them on the other side of the ball. And so, for an offensive lineman, you want them to be big, physical, and strong. But if they don't have that football IQ, then that don't matter.
Hey, quarterback's quarterback, and those are the guys that make $400 million. But you know what to tell you the second toughest position to find is? Second. Because you got to have a guy who's big enough, right? He's got to be able to shotgun snap. He's got to be able to take on a 320-pound guy, and he's got to make the checks, whether that guy's to his left, whatever.
In 2 seconds.
In 2 seconds.
And You were at the the owners meetings, and you guys had an opportunity because I talked to Jason, and when you guys spoke to them, this is very fascinating. Do you have a good idea if the Browns like any of these tackles? I just feel like they're just kind of blah on all of them. I don't think that. I think that some of them have some good traits, some of them have some bad traits. What did you get from that?
I don't think that we got a tip in terms of what the Browns think, but I think I came away believing that maybe the league is not sold in general. So it's going to be personal preference. I think when you look at Andrew Berry's track record, I think you can connect Monroe Freeling and Caden Proctor to the Browns. I think there's probably not a strong feeling that any of these guys would go in the top 5 in another draft. So what's Arizona going to do? What's Tennessee going to do? Who's going to be there? And if it's the Browns, are they going to take the long-term view and take the best linemen because none of them went in the top 5? Or are they going to say, hey, we're good on the right side for the next year or two, or at least they should be, considering what they committed, and then they're going to take that guy later. So Spencer Fano is a left tackle 1 year in college, played other positions. When he went to the combine and they had him working out at center, that didn't scream number 6 pick in the draft to me.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like when they tap you on the shoulder, hey, how you feel about kicking down and show us some snaps?
But it's all your situation.
Right.
If Spencer Fano's there at 14 and the Ravens say, we don't care, we want you to play 2 or 3 spots over the course of your career, we're going to take you, versus if it's 6, like, you're thinking you're going to get the next Joe Thomas.
So you said, it's personal preference based on what you got, just from talking to people. And the one thing, like with Andrew Berry, that kind of makes me uneasy is he has a tendency to draft tackles that play on the right side, and he think that, he likes guys with versatility, and he think, you can just kick them on this side. But when I hear Todd Monken talk, it seems like that he's in line with that thought process that Andrew Berry has, to where, just draft a good offensive lineman, and myself and Warhop and Schweitzer can do what we have to do to get those guys ready. So when you talk about them having personal preference, it sounds like it doesn't have to be a guy that has primarily played on the left side.
It doesn't have to be, but you made a commitment to a 30-year-old guy who says, I'm a right tackle.
Yeah.
And like Zion Johnson has played both sides, but for the last 3 years, he played left guard. So where are these guys going to fit? We don't know. And the Browns are not drafting necessarily a guy for this year for week 1. I think the stat is 25 teams last year, guys. Their 5 offensive line on snap 1 week 1 played less than 50% of the snaps for the season. So that's why they have valued this versatility. But in terms of making a pick that's going to follow you and going to shape your offensive line for years to come, if you draft a guy that's redundant or it doesn't work out, then that's dangerous.
It's dangerous that the 2 biggest needs on this team are wide receiver and offensive lineman, and the blind spot seems to be offensive line and wide receiver.
That's right. But also, Garrett, if you had 9 studs and you were thinking you were going to play in the AFC Championship game this year, then you would say, yes, they're definitely taking a left tackle or a wide receiver. You're not in that situation, which opens it up more. You add in the fact that nobody really seems to have a consensus on who's going to a 5. Like, I came away thinking, like, this is wide open. And also that people are low enough, I think, on all the tackles that the Browns might have their choice. Like, no tackles might go in the top 5. So if the Browns really want one, they're in position to potentially get who they want.
Outside of tackle, let me ask you this. I believe that the Cleveland Browns should draft 2 wide receivers with their first 4 picks. How do you see that?
Yeah, I would probably lean 2 tackles over 2 wide receivers. But if they don't get Carnell Tate, and either they don't want him or he goes in the top 5, then I think that's definitely in play, because I think the general thought on this draft class is it's more deep than top-heavy at receiver, and the Browns need a lot of help. And again, if they have to play this year without a number 1 wide receiver, that's fine. It's about the future. Like, who in this receiving group is even going to be on this team in 27? Isaiah Bond, assuming he makes progress. That's the only one you can say with any certainty, because Judy's not tradable right now. He's dumpable after this year. Cedric Tillman only has a contract for this year. Who else? We're talking now. We're in the Malachi Corley, Tyler Wallace category.
You don't want to get to the mountain.
You're looking at another season of Harold Fannin being your number 1 receiver.
Listen, I'll tell you, we'll find out. Draft less than 16 days away. We will be all over it, and make sure you check out Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show YouTube, and make sure you download the WKYC Plus app. When we get back, guys, we switch topics. We switch gears a little bit. We get into the Cleveland Guardians. Jose Ramirez, all-time leader in games played. What is he most known for? What memory stands out to you guys We'll come back and talk about that next on UCSS. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Jose Ramirez just officially yesterday became the all-time leader in games played for the Guardians. They unfortunately lost the game 4-2 against the Royals. But got me thinking, what if it ended today? What is the most memorable thing that you think about when it comes to Jose Ramirez if he does not win a championship? And don't you say down goes.
I hate to be on this show promoting violence.
Right.
But, like, man, when you knock out Tim Anderson and you change the trajectory of his entire career at home in front of your hometown fans, man, that just screams, I'm so Cleveland to me, right? Because think about it. That's like being outside the schoolyard and all your homies watching. You can't get whooped on. You can't, right? So, like, the fact that not only did you whoop on them, but, like, you took the man baseball, so. Yeah. Like, you really changed the entire trajectory of his career. But we talked about Jose earlier. We talked about the things that he does with the baseball bat. We talked about the base running. We talked about the defense. And we failed to mention the leadership aspect or just the infusion of energy that he has. Jose Ramirez has this attitude, this swag, and just this natural-born leadership to him to where he galvanizes the troops all the time. But there's so many different home run moments, walk-off moments, and all the three home run games, 4 home run games. But it was something about knocking out Tim Anderson in front of our Cleveland faithful and changing the entire trajectory of his career. Yeah. It just screamed like that's what happened when you mess with somebody from the 216. You run your mouth, and that's what happened to you. That right there.
It was. That's one everybody remembers, right? They were selling T-shirts like the next hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. Last September, I was at the game, and they're playing the Tigers, and during that run when they couldn't lose because they right. And he hit a home. I'm trying to think of the exact game, but like the energy in the ballpark that night was incredible. But when Jose did that, it was energy that I had never felt like being there as a fan, and he's done that over the course of his career. Like some of his biggest moments have come. That's not the postseason, but they don't get to the postseason without it. And he's had great at bats. So the longevity is awesome, and like you said, the leadership. Like this guy runs out ground balls. This guy plays incredible defense, and you have a young team constantly. You're constantly bringing in young, cheap, impressionable players. Who do they know? If they've never been to Cleveland, Ohio before, but they've been a baseball player. Well, this guy's been doing it long enough. They know Jose Ramirez. So the example that he sets matters, and he continually keeps that bar high.
The thing that I go with is you take a look at, go back and look at the Angels. You got Mike Trout and Ohtani, and y'all never did nothing. Think about that. His best teammate that he's probably ever had was Francisco Lindor, and the owner just was like, "Hey, I'm going to tell you that up front.
Enjoy while you got
it. He's going to be gone." So this dude has played his entire career here, consistently took this less bag of money, and consistently has had all of the pressure to hold down the entire fort. He's the best hitter. He's the guy who's going to, when he plays the hot corner, he brings it in terms of his base running. He steals bases. He's a 5-tool player. And he does that with a team that has the lowest payroll in the league. Teams like, guys are paying for high payroll teams. You go back and we just mentioned the Angels. Mike Trout and them ain't never really, they don't even be going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he's been listed as one of the best players pound for pound in baseball for the last decade. It's so difficult to do that in a city like Cleveland. And he does it, and he don't even say nothing. He don't talk to nobody.
Yeah, across the league, Garrett, there's guys that come up and they feel the pressure because they're making millions and millions and millions in their box office. When Jose comes to the plate, he feels the pressure because if he don't hit, nobody else is.
That's it. That's it. If he don't get it, who gonna get it? I need you to bring that loaf of bread home, Earl.
Facts, right?
Like your mom told you, hey, when you come home.
Jose out here he got to fend for his brothers and sisters. If I don't go out here and get it, how the rest of my siblings gonna eat? That's exactly how he has this approach to it. To where if he feels any type of pressure, is that type of pressure. You are absolutely right.
It's just it's the energy level. I just like how he walking. He be walking like this.
Yeah.
Like I'm the biggest.
He walk with his chest out, and like I said, man, like he'll let you know, like this is my city. And when he says it with a sense that he believes it, and everybody in this city believe it. I truly believe that Jose Ramirez is the most beloved athlete to play in the city of Cleveland over the last 20 years. And I understand LeBron James won us a championship. I understand the love that Joe Thomas gets here. I understand how much we love Nick Chubb here. It is something about Jose Ramirez and what he brings. I don't know if it's the sense of loyalty, and commitment here, or
it's all the above.
Just taking on the mantra and the attitude of the city, like you said, D, letter D, all of the above.
I would argue that it's LeBron, but LeBron has left twice, and Jose is here and set the record yesterday.
And that's why I think it's him.
In the franchise, sure.
Yeah, Jose to me, he tells me all money ain't good money. Mm-hmm. It's something to be said when you can play comfortable, play in front of the city that you love, and play in front of a group of fans. And you ain't got to worry about it. You just go to the baseball park, do your thing.
He's going to get a
home.
statue, right? And then so is Chase DeLauder, hopefully.
Donovan Mitchell said he need a statue right now.
That's a very interesting.
Think about that. Mike was there. I remember tweeting out something last summer because everybody knows that Donovan Mitchell is one of those guys who has taken on and embraced the city of Cleveland. Very personable, a guy that'll speak to you, chop it up with you. Here, even introduce you to his fiance, right? That's how personable he's gotten with the city. And it just got me to thinking about where he ranks on that list. And a lot of people just shot it down, Jose. And Don was like, yeah, I ain't been here long enough. I haven't done the things that he's done. That man needs his statue right here, right now.
Now, if Donovan want to go get a championship, then we just got to start elevating.
Hey, Mike, would you be down for putting Donovan Mitchell in the Guardian starting lineup to hit behind Jose Ramirez? I'm so serious.
I'm going to be honest. When we put that Kyle Manzardo stat graphic up, and every time we flash it, it starts with a 0.63, and you look at some of the other guys in the lineup, including Bo Naylor, who is not much higher than Manzardo, and having seen Donovan Mitchell play softball before, knowing his background, knowing what his father did, and working in baseball, I don't think, and I mean 100% serious, it could be much worse than what they've gotten so far this season.
Did they shake up the lineup today, Mike? I know you told us about the IR thing, but did they shake up the lineup?
Let me pull up our friend Zach's. Not you, the other athletic Zach.
Yeah.
The less athletic at the athletic.
Yeah, he is less athletic than me, which is sad.
Yeah. That's crazy. Back in the day, they used to have corporate events where they would play basketball against other companies, and it was a big thing. I think they did that one year with 92.3 The Fan and ESPN Cleveland, I believe, and Bull messed his ankle up, and they canceled.
Wait, they had
No, it was like a basketball game.
Basketball game. Bulls talked about this. Yeah.
It like, you know what I'm saying? So back then they used to be, but Daryl Ryder undercut him on accident, and he was on his team, Friendly Fire. And so that's why they call him Dangerous Daryl Ryder now. That's crazy.
He went Antonio Hall.
So you ready for the lineup today? This is the Guardians lineup, and it starts off with a little bit of breaking news. Stephen Kwan's leading off, and for the first time in his career that at least I know of, is playing center field.
No, he's been playing center this season.
He's actually played it, not spring training, but in an actual
Yeah,
game.
last night or 2 nights ago, he definitely played center field.
All right, well, then that's not breaking news. Stephen Kwan in center.
Yeah.
Martinez is batting second, playing left field. Ramirez third. Fry is DHing, hitting fourth. Hoskins at first base, hitting fifth. Brito making his season debut at second, batting sixth. Kafis in right, batting seventh. Hedges batting eighth, catching, and Rocchio at shortstop.
So day off for DeLauder.
Yeah.
DeLauder
Well,
and,
that means
and Manzardo both off today, and Bo Naylor.
no runs. This is a bunt lineup.
Yeah.
They might want to.
They might shock you though.
We're talking about a 2-1 game if there's ever been. Right? It's 22 degrees out there, guys.
That's true.
I woke up too. I did wake up and be like, dang, like I thought you was gonna give us something here, bro. I will say last summer was beautiful. I mean, it was hot and warm up to October, and then we just then it was just
I'm
like,
gonna tell you like this is gonna be cold today, and if it is one of those situations to where it's 2-1 or 1-1, man, don't let Chase come off that bench, and he ain't been in there, and he hit a home run cold.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough. It's
With
tough.
33 people in the stands, and everybody be claiming they were one of them.
I was there. I was there.
That always funny. That always got me when we be on the radio. Yeah, G. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, I appreciate the call.
Yeah.
I was
driving home from the ball game.
I was there. I was at the ball game. I seen that. Boy, that kid is. I'm like, bro, it was all blue seats. Well, you painted blue because nobody was there when I was looking at it on my television.
We were in Arizona last week, and I wanted to go to the Arizona State West Virginia baseball game. It was like right down the road from where I was. It was 95 degrees at first pitch. I said, I'm not going.
He said, I ain't doing that.
No, I'm going to the pool.
That is why I don't be going to all of the training camp. If it's over a certain amount of time, I automatically feel like I got a helmet on.
Bro,
like, no, I'm not doing that.
Mike walked out there with jeans on. Like one time last summer and looked at me like, this year, I'm going to have a bucket hat. I'm going to have the binoculars. Like
I go bucket hat for training camp.
Yeah, like I'm going to be prepared this year. Yeah.
I'm a realist.
Right? Like I was watching, I was studying the film of how everybody else do it. I know what to do this year when I get out there.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, but coming up next, Jerry Jeudy, man. Up
JJ.
here, down here, up here,
JJ
down
3.
here. He's supposed to be up for a good year. Can Todd Monken resurrect this man's wide receiver career here in Cleveland? We'll talk about it next on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We back at it. Cleveland Browns, they reported they hanging around doing all the shorts activities. So obviously you're not going to get
pictures,
taking pictures,
classmates,
seeing the team, getting the position coach, and I'm probably sure they had a bunch of speeches. But the one thing that we're trying to see this year is Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy, we need you to get back to the Jerry Jeudy of 2024 because 2025 was not it. It was so loud he had to do the celebration like this. I didn't hear nobody. He cutting out all the noise. Problem is, we need you to be logged in, and we need you to have the best season we can to even evaluate the quarterbacks. Let's get to it. What does Todd Monken need to do, and what do you project, Zach, in terms of what do you see for Jerry Jeudy this year? Is this going to be an uptick, or is it going to be some of the same inconsistency?
I think he's always kind of been the same because the spikes have been high, but the lows have been low, and they were lower last year, right? And even in 2024, when he ended up having the big season, what did he do the first half of the season? No, it wasn't a real NFL offense, right? But he was non-existent. So I'm glad you put it in the Monken frame because I'm going to look at that. Like, you want me to be a believer in Todd Monken as this offensive miracle worker or even a guru? Those are my words, but let's be honest. Then let's see Jerry Jeudy have one of those seasons. The Browns are still committed to him. They could not trade him if they wanted to. They acquired him for nothing. They immediately extended him, and everybody said, what are you doing? Well, outside of those 3 games, he's not a number 1 receiver. He's never been consistent. He's not going to be your leader, but he needs to play better. He needs to catch the ball, and he needs to make explosive plays because this team, when you look, he's still the number 1 on this team.
Right.
And he's still paid, not at the top of the market, but he is paid like a big-time reliable player, and he has not been a reliable player whatsoever.
I remember when Andrew Berry made the trade for Jerry Jeudy, and I remember the mixed reaction. Some people was like, no, bad attitude. It didn't work well in Denver. Other people was like, well, the production never showed up because he never really had a quarterback. And then when Andrew Berry gave him a deal right away, Andrew Berry was trying to outsmart the system because some wide receivers were getting signed at $20, $25 million a year, and he was trying to avoid that being the case. Then he performs his first season, and despite the drops, because the drops were an issue his first season, I kind of had the thought process that the fans walked away okay with Jerry Jeudy. They was cool with it. All right, cool. He was productive. We can live with this. And then last season comes, and last season was a total disaster. The drops were crazy. The attitude, the body language was crazy. He didn't really seem like he was emotionally invested. And then you kept losing, and he just seemed like he had checked out. But people like Jerry Jeudy, just from a personality standpoint, I think that he's totally aware of what happened last year. I don't think that he is satisfied. I think he has a bad taste in his own mouth for how he played and maybe how he conducted himself. And some aspects, and he knows what type of time it is for him this year. And I think that with Todd Monken aboard, he's going to look at the tape and look at what Jerry Jeudy does best and where he was utilized the most and where he had the most success. And I kind of envision him. I know we talk about Isaiah Bond a lot, but, he might be the guy that's used a lot like Zay Flowers in that slot because he can run routes and get him out of open space, and you can see what he do. I go back to the big game he had against Denver a couple years ago. He operated in the middle of the field, got out in space, and was able to make some big plays. Even on the play where Shedeur hit him and he fumbled the ball, right? So, if Todd Monken can see what he does well, exploit that, and put him in those situations, and he put in the work himself, then this can be one of those redemption seasons for Jerry Jeudy.
I always found it real funny that when you get a new boss, you seem to be dialed in a little bit more. You seem to, your antenna is up a little bit more. Maybe you know what I'm saying, you watch the ball into your hands a little bit more. And I'm hoping that the phenomenon takes place with Jerry Jeudy, because when a new coach comes in, they will always do this. They will always tell you what the standards is, and they're going to find somebody that's going to get in the doghouse, and they're going to find somebody that they anoint as, you should be doing it like this guy. And sometimes those guys are guys that ain't making the most money, guys that were forgotten in the offense, were afterthoughts with the previous coaching staff. And what it does, it motivates you. If you're looking at it, they got Jerry Jeudy, they got Cedric Tillman, they got Jamari Thrash, guys that are like, and Corley as well. These guys, they have not lit the league up in any way, shape, or form. I expect Todd Monken to pick somebody, and it might be someone that don't make no money, that's an undrafted free agent, say, this guy is making noise. I tell you what, Zach, this guy right here, listen, if we can get 7 more guys to do it like that, and that motivates guys. And by the way, in terms of the contract, am I correct in saying that they can get off his money after this year?
After this year, they can.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not right now, they
He
can't.
know what type of time it is.
we really got something going on here then, Zach.
Yeah.
Because they can get off your money after this year. It's a new coach, and it's a new offense. So you're going to have to be completely dialed in because there's no pecking order anywhere. They want you to be the guy, and especially if they bring in another receiver, the highly touted guy, if it's a Cardinal Tate or Jordan Tyson or Mekhi Lemon. Now you got a first-round pick moving forward with a new coaching staff.
Yeah, I think when you look at the guys across the league that are up there in drops, like Jeudy's not the only one who has some production, but that's what's maddening about him. He does have some production.
Yes, he can play.
Right? And that's what's maddening about the whole thing. 2 years ago, Sean Payton said, we're done. We're not extending this guy. The Browns said, we'll take him. And awful start to the year, record-setting game in Denver, right? Like you talk about like that play in Las Vegas, that sums him up. He's open, he accelerates, he explodes, and then all of a sudden that happens, right? Like 10, 12 drops in a season is not excusable, right? And so we'll see. Who's going to be the quarterback? What are they going to ask him to do? The guy has top-level explosion, and the guy can play more than one position. That puts him there. Like teams are going to take chances on him, but this is probably his last chance. He'd be wise to
Man, think about it. Larry Fitzgerald ain't had 10 or 12 drops in his whole career.
Right.
Like, that is wild, man.
I mean, we're not asking you to really block. We're not tackle.
He's not playing punt gunner in practice.
Your only job is to catch the football, secure it, and get up. Even when he made plays, the play that stands out in the Raiders game, I don't know what he's doing. You caught the ball. You're on the sideline. There's no one around you. You're stopping, trying to cut, and you get stripped. Yeah. And it's like, but then there's plays where he made a play in Shedeur Sanders' first game where they were trying to get against the Ravens where he threw it short of the sticks. He makes 4 guys miss and picks up a first down when it seemed like it would be impossible. So he has the talent. This guy's a Biletnikoff winner. He runs. He's one of the best route runners that we've seen, but it's just the mental lapses. And the thing that you have with the Cleveland Browns is you can't rely. If you're relying on Jerry Jeudy to be your number one receiver, it's just
and
tough.
They would tell you that they never intended to do that, but they did it, right? Like they paid him like a number 2, they got him, but it was all of a sudden they ended up last year with him as their number 1, and it was a disaster.
Last point on what both of you all said for me, about this year being that big of a year because the Browns can't get off of his money. We talk about this year's wide receiver class, and those guys, it's not that much separation. Next year's wide receiver class is absolutely bananas. And the Cleveland Browns and Todd Monken will have no issue replacing him with anybody that's coming out next year if this man doesn't produce to the level he needs to. So.
Yeah, listen, Jerry Jeudy, we hope to see the old Jerry Jeudy, the one that actually was putting up numbers in Cleveland. When we get back, draft, like we said, it's under 16 days away. Bill Barnwell comes up with his all-trade mock draft. Let's see what he has in store for the Browns at 6-24. Right back on UCSS. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. McNuggets, Bill Barnwell, what do you got going on for these trades? Give us a parameter so we know what we talking about.
Yeah, so Bill Barnwell of ESPN does this every year. It is a draft mock involving only trades. No player names, just trades for each pick, 1 through 32, if he was the general manager for each team. The proposed deal he had in the mock draft for the Browns at number 6 was a deal that we've kind of talked about in the past, except this involves more than just 2 first-round picks for 2 first-round picks. It gets into the 2027 draft, which I know Earl has his eyes on. In Bill Barnwell's proposed deal, the Browns would send the 6th pick, the 24th pick, and a 2027 5th-round pick to Dallas in exchange for the 12th pick this year, the 20th pick this year, and a 2027 second-round pick. So you move back from 6 to 12. The Browns would move up, though, from 24 to 20 and get a second-round pick next year in exchange for a 5th-round pick next year. Guys, what do you think about this proposed deal from Bill Barnwell's new all-trade mock draft?
That second-round pick, I'm going to just keep it real with you. Zach, if the trade market goes and just assume the Browns need a quarter or want a quarterback, because this is what if you trade for a 2027 first round or second round pick, that's what you want a quarterback. Mm-hmm. You might need way more than that to be able to get back up to one of the quarterbacks that you actually want. In terms of a second round pick, I think the Jets got like 10 first round picks or something stupid. So, is this enough? Like, if I move from 6 to 12. Who do I have available? Am I going to get my receiver or my lineman in that range?
Well, it's that question why I love it, because I'm not sold on anyone.
Right.
6, right? So I'm moving back 6 spots. I'm moving up 4 in the other spot. I'm getting that future ammo, which can matter in many directions, maybe a quarterback, but I'm fine picking at 12, because if I don't really love a tackle at 6, I'm still going to get a chance to get one. Right, if I'm not sure about Mekhi Lemon at 6, but I can get him at 12, like right. I'm in that range. And then at 20, you just have more flexibility than you do at 24. Yeah. Obviously, there's simple math says you're getting there, but I'm better positioned to, if there is another trade opportunity, or to simply, if I'm in a best player available situation, I got three more bullets at that best player being there for my team. I'm taking this trade in a heartbeat, because I'm taking the approach that I'm not there yet. I'm playing for the future. That's my best opportunity. The only way the Browns are getting a 2027 1 is to move way down. Here I'm only moving down 6 spots. I'm moving up 4, and I'm getting a very valuable 2027 second rounder that gives me plenty of options. That, to me, is a no-brainer, and I think Andrew Berry would sign up for it in a heartbeat.
So 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have said no to this trade because it didn't include a 2027 first-round pick. But I have come around, I have stopped being stubborn and naive, and I've come to the reality of what you just said. Moving down 6 slots is not enough for somebody to give you their 2027 first-round pick. I would definitely do this trade because I can't say that I'm 100% sold on anybody with the 6th pick, but, you know, Mekhi Lemon looks better than me at 12. Taking a chance on Monroe Freeland, or Spencer Furneaux, it looks different. And then with the 20th pick, you know, I told Mike upstairs a couple of days ago that I think that corner is one of those underrated needs for the Cleveland Browns, because if Tyson Campbell or Denzel Ward gets hurt, then what are you going to do? And there's some quality corners that might be around with the 20th pick, so where you might be able to pick best player available. If somebody hits your line and you can move down from 20 to about 25, and then you still pick up a 3rd or a 4th, okay, you can still get you what you want, and you've created more ammunition for yourself to either draft more players this year or trade some of those picks for future picks in 2027.
This move makes a lot of sense if you say, I actually like Jordan Tyson more than I like Carnell Tate because he's more explosive, but I do not like Jordan Tyson's medical. 6 is kind of high for me.
Correct.
You move down to 12. Now that's a right sweet spot. You're able to get a guy who you think is the best pure receiver in terms of the upside and his explosive nature to his game. You can still take him at 12 and you still have 20. And I wouldn't be surprised if at 20, if they said, you mentioned Alex Wright. At that point, you got guys on the board Akeem
Falk from what was it?
for Auburn. Akeem Messidor is a guy that's an edge rusher. You said this too. The Browns still need
the Browns will never take Messidor because they only take 21-year-olds in the first round.
And he's like
33.
He's like 20, he's like 26 right now. But corner, you do mention.
Yeah, you open it up to best player available scenario.
Yeah.
Here's the other reason I do this, and I'm sort of joking, but I mean this. If Dallas calls me and offers me this trade, I'm accepting it for the reasons we already went over, and I want to be on their good side. You know why? When Dallas starts 3-1 this year and Jerry loses his mind and calls back for Myles Garrett, I want to be on his good side because I'm asking for everything. I want every pick you got, Jerry, for the future, and we will send Myles home.
You bring up Jerry Jones, and I have said this before. I don't know if it's because I watched that documentary on Netflix, but that last episode and the last 10 minutes, and you hear Jerry Jones get emotional and passionate about being up there in age and wanting to win another Super Bowl. You hear his children talk about the mission of, I got to get one more before my dad passes away. It lets me know, like, Jerry might give you a first-round pick in 2027.
I want Jerry to know that he has my number, that I answer.
Like, if you think about it, I know that's the projected, but, like, if he is really, like, seeing he's closer to the end, that's just the reality, right?
What you talking about?
And when you think about it like that and you that thirsty to win the Super Bowl, Jerry Jones might look at it like, you know what? I might not be here in 2027 and be making that first round pick. And if he see a guy like a David Bailey or Caleb Downs that's really, really intriguing, and Andrew Berry tell him the right things about the teams up under him trying to come up, you might be able to sneak a first round pick out of him. Who knows?
You know, listen, life is a very funny thing.
Yeah.
You start to get older, you start to see your mortality. I always told people, look, man, Jimmy Haslam ain't that young. When you start hitting, when you talk about 70s and the life expectancy of a man today, 74, 77 years old, somewhere in that range, these little draft picks and the future long-term viability start to be going out the window. You start to be like, I got this stadium and I'm thinking legacy, but I need to at least stamp something and put something behind my name. Jerry Jones might be crazy to give up some of these picks, but I do think that his age does play a role in him.
Yeah, I think the question here is, right, who would they want at 6? And I think what the Browns and other teams are dealing with is nobody really knows who's going to go. Right. The Jets are going Arvell Reese or Bailey. Right. Mm-hmm. They need a pass rusher. They need to fix their defense. But 3, 4, 5, like the options are wide open. And
especially if it's a one quarterback draft.
Yeah, and then who really values Caleb Downs or Jeremiah Love or Carnell Tate? We don't know. I think if the Browns are sitting there and Carnell Tate doesn't go, they're going to take Carnell Tate. But I don't know that's how I read it right now. But I can tell you from talking multiple teams last week, they're not sure how to read it on how it's going to go and who's going to be available and then what the appetite would be for teams to move up.
Big Nuggets.
If this deal is offered to me and I'm Andrew Berry, I'm accepting immediately before they can change their mind. 2 reasons. As we have talked about before, the Browns may not be enamored with any player at 6. And if their threshold, if their tier list says we think you can get just around the same kind of player at 6 as we can at 12, then I'm taking that first and foremost. Then you move up 4 spots to number 20, which gives you more ammunition if you want to take best player available, if you want to target the tackle run, which is going to happen in that 15 to 24 range. You can get your better pick of tackles at that spot. Also, if another team wants to trade up, in Earl's scenario where you want to get back to get the cornerback in the later first round, you have that opportunity. And most importantly, if 2027's draft is as loaded as we think it is, not just at quarterback, but at receiver, at defensive end, all these positions are loaded. That second-round pick is ammunition to use to go get your guy. Whether it be a quarterback, whether it be Jeremiah Smith, whether it be Colin Simmons. Maybe it's not enough to move up by itself, but you know what looks a lot better in 2027? A second-round pick than a fifth-round pick. I think it's a no-brainer if this is the deal.
Yeah, people, I think there's going to be people jockeying for a quarterback, but even with that being said, if they jockeying for quarterbacks, I think there will be a market for people jockeying for Jeremiah Smith. I think, you may have 3 quarterbacks that may be in the top 5, but there's going to be somebody sneaking around, I need him.
You got Coleman, you got Wingo. I know Ryan Williams didn't really produce, but Ryan Williams is going to be in that draft class among others, and I just think it's going to be an opportunity for every team to get quality football players in the second round. So if you got multiple second-round picks, that is ammunition to get up to get a player that you need if you don't need a quarterback.
How likely do you guys think, really quickly before we get to our super chats, how likely is there a trade down for the Browns in your mind?
Probably like in the 30 to 40% range right now. But I think the Browns are seeking one. So
yeah.
If I put it on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably at a 6, that they move out of 6.
I think they are trying with all of their might to do it. I would say 40% chance that they get it done. And I wouldn't be surprised if you've seen 2 trade backs. Old school, like somebody moving up. If they did this trade, somebody want to take somebody at 20 and they move back again to try to get some more ammunition. I think that's part of this draft as well, McNuggets.
Real quick, McNuggets, before you go, didn't the Browns trade back twice? I think it was Mangini's first year.
Yep.
Could have took
Yeah,
Julio Jones.
did.
Yep.
They traded back twice that
Yep,
draft.
they sure did.
Yeah.
They traded
They
back.
acquired
twice.
Brett Ratliff.
Yeah. I'm with you guys. I think they're trying to trade back. I'm not sure there's a partner. I go a little lower on the percent just because I think there's a bunch of teams, the top 5, top 6 trying to move back. I'd give it a 20% chance. Real quick, on this deal, we put in the poll, would you make it? Over 300 votes, a dead even 50-50 split, which goes to show you.
Shows you that
Everyone's
half the
looking to stress
population
different.
really is stupid.
or half the population is tired of taking these L's. When you trade back,
Zach ain't mean that. He just playing with y'all.
when you trade back, basically, so who said this yesterday? You said basically it's like telling your kids, hey, I know December 25th is coming around. Them presents, we ain't opening presents in this household till January 11th. You're like, what? Nah, bro.
I know some of the fans feel like we are enamored with the whole
picks.
trade back thing, but that's just how I see it. I could be totally wrong, but that's just how I see it, at least for this year.
All right, 2 super chats to wrap up. Any Lover G says, none of these offensive linemen are worth a high pick at tackle unless you're drafting them at guard. I'd rather have Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs, who are immediate impact players. And then Eddie, our guy Eddie, and Earl, I'm not quite sure what this means, but he says, is Earl still bulging with his brothers?
Oh, yeah. So I was tweeting too fast when we introduced the Final Cut show.
Yeah.
And I was trying to say I was looking forward to building with my brothers. And it said, I'm looking forward to bulging with my brothers.
Oh, that's
that
crazy.
was the ultimate pause,
fire him for that
ultimate
alone,
flag
Jimmy.
on the play. Thankfully, I was able to edit the tweet before.
Get my flags
yeah,
ready.
get the flags ready.
Get
I was
them-
able
get
to
them-
edit
get
the
them-
tweet
get them ready, get them
before
ready.
the time came through. Yeah, it's a red flag. Challenge that
Offside.
flag on the play. But hey, you know what?
Nasty work. We'll
Yeah.
catch you tomorrow.